The year 491 BC. The Persian Empire was ruled by Darius I. The king wanted to do what many other rulers seek to accomplish, and that's to conquer the world. There was one place in particular which Darius I wanted to subjugate, and that place was ancient Greece. Back in those days, the country consisted of many city-states that weren't necessarily living in harmony, but even though they competed with each other for resources and influence, they also teamed up whenever a foreign threat was about to invade them. The Persian king sent envoys to Greece in order to convince the city-states to surrender for the sake of avoiding bloodshed. Especially the two most powerful city-states, Sparta and Athens, felt utterly insulted and executed the envoys. The Spartans threw them into wells, while the Athenians preferred to toss the envoys into pits. The two city-states agreed to work together in case of a Persian invasion. Darius I didn't take too kindly to the behavior of the Greeks, and in 490 BC, the Persian king attempted to conquer Greece as part of the First Persian War. But the Greeks, who were led by Athens, managed to secure the victory at the Battle of Marathon against the invading force. But that was only the beginning of what was coming later on. After Darius I died in 486 BC, his son Xerxes I became the new king of the Persian Empire. He intended to finish what his father has started. Xerxes managed to increase the strength of his empire by gaining more warriors and resources. Just like his predecessor, Xerxes I sent messengers to the Greek cities with the intention to convince them to subordinate themselves to the Persian king. But this time around, he skipped Athens and Sparta. Based on the previous experience, they didn't go too well, but rather in it.
You serious?
But not all Greek city-states planned to resist the invasion. Some wanted to remain neutral, and others even intended to join Xerxes' forces. It was just a matter of time until the inevitable battle between the Greeks and the Persians would happen. Meanwhile, the Spartan king Leonidas, who lived from about 530 to 480 BC, ruled the powerful city-state. Since his childhood, Leonidas underwent extremely hard training in order to become a hoplite warrior. These types of soldiers were armed with a heavy bronze shield, a spear, and a short iron sword. The Spartans used a special formation, namely the phalanx. It consisted of several rows of hoplites who stood closely to each other and overlapped their shields, which ensured more protection from approaching enemies. In 480 BC, Xerxes invaded the country once again. The Persian forces attacked the north of Greece and conquered it fairly fast. They continued to march towards the south of the country, and the danger grew rapidly. When the news of the invasion reached the masses, the Greeks sent 10,000 hoplites to avoid further damage. But when they realized that the battle was unwinnable due to the sheer size of the Persian army, the Greek soldiers withdrew. Another factor that probably decreased the amount of fighting men on the Greek side were the sacred Olympic Games, and also the religious Spartan festival called Carneia, which meant that no fighting was allowed. But not much time was left until the Persians would eventually reach their goal. The Athenian politician and general Themistocles realized that the Persians had to go through the pass of Thermopylae, which was the way to enter the mainland of Greece. This location was very special because it was a narrow mountain pass near the sea, which by design favored the Greek way of combat. Furthermore, Themistocles planned to fight the naval Persian forces at the Straits of Artemisium. Before the chaos, the Oracle of Delphi advised the Athens to fly to the world's end, but their fighting spirit remained strong, and so they decided to resist the Persian attack. The Greek city-states joined their forces and had about 6,000 to 7,000 soldiers who were sent to Thermopylae aka the Hot Gates, to protect their country. The army, that also included the elite 300 Spartan warriors, was led by none other than the legendary Leonidas. But even though the Greek soldiers were extremely well trained, they were simply outnumbered. Xerxes' army consisted of around 70,000 to 300,000 warriors. The Persian infantry was armed with a light shield and a long dagger, or a battle axe, a short spear, and a bow. But they also had a more powerful force that had a better armor and spears. They were called the Immortals, and the Greek soldiers had to fight 10,000 of those killers. But that's not all. The Persians had also a cavalry that was similarly equipped like the foot soldiers, but they had also a bow and 2 javelins. This represents the Persians' preferred long-distance fighting style that was combined with the powerful close-range combat. And in 480 BC, the two armies finally met. Xerxes, who led the invasion in person, tried to intimidate the Greeks for 4 days, but the brave warriors stood their ground. The Persian king demanded one last time that the Greeks had to surrender and lay down their arms. But Leonidas infamously replied, "Come and get them." The fight was on, and the outnumbered Greeks used their strategy and discipline to resist the Persian attacks. The location helped them significantly because the narrow pass reduced the number of Persians that could attack at once. The Greeks gave all they had. They managed to fight the Persians for 2 days, but on the second day, a local shepherd betrayed them. The man named Ephialtes wanted to get a reward from Xerxes, and so he informed the Persian king that the Thermopylae path leads around the narrow pass, which would allow the Persians to surround the Greeks. And on the third day, the Persians did exactly that. Leonidas, who realized their situation was hopeless, ordered a large number of his army to withdraw. He, his Spartans, and a few others stayed behind and made sure that their allies could retreat without getting attacked. It didn't take a long time until the Greeks were overwhelmed and killed. Out of rage, Xerxes ordered to decapitate Leonidas and to put his head on a stake. And at the Battle of Artemisium, a storm took a heavy toll on the Persian naval force, so there wasn't really a winner. But after the commander Themistocles received the news that Leonidas and his men were defeated by the Persians, he decided to withdraw to Salamis. After their victory, the Persians moved further, but Leonidas' brother Cleombrotus built a defensive wall near Corinth. The winter did some serious damage to the Persian army, and at Salamis the Greeks managed to secure a victory. The Persian king decided to return home and to leave his general Mardonius in charge. And in 479 BC, the Greeks fought the Persians once again at the Battle of Plataea and managed to defeat the invaders. And this victory marked the end of Xerxes' ambitions to conquer Greece. To this very day, Leonidas and his men are still remembered. Even a shrine was built in order to honor the Spartan king. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to support the channel, then please consider to subscribe and to leave a like. And if you want me to present a specific topic, then feel free to comment down below. Have a great day, and until next time.